Hi there, students. To make out. Okay, make out is one of these phrasal verbs that is typical of why students have so many problems with them. I've got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different meanings or different types of usage for the word to make out. Yeah? So with 7 different meanings, that makes life pretty hard. Okay, so the first one, to progress. How did you make out with your exams? What was the result? How are you making out at your new job? How are you doing? Yeah? How are you progressing? What was the result? How did your team make out? How did they do? How did they fare in the match yesterday? You could also use this meaning manage. I can make out with the equipment that I have. I can manage. I can do with just this hammer and this screwdriver. Okay, so to do, to fare, to progress, to manage. Okay, to make out can refer to sexual activity. So there were teenagers making out in their cars parked on the edge of the park. Did you make out with her? Okay, to make out, maybe just kissing or heavy foreplay, or it could be full sex. It doesn't define the sexual activity that took place. So, did you make out with her yesterday? So, to make out, to progress, to fare, or this one about sex. The next meaning, to identify, to see, to hear. So, I need my glasses, otherwise I can't make out what is written on the piece of paper. His handwriting is really bad, it's not clear, and I can't make out the words. I can't decipher. I can't understand. I can't read them. I can't hear what they're saying. I can't make out what they're saying. Could you turn up the volume? Okay, so to discern. You can also use it to mean to understand. I see the words, but I can't make out what he means. What do you make out of this? What is your opinion? What do you discern? What do you identify? There were a lot of faces in the crowd, and I tried to make out some of the people that I recognised. So, to make out, to fare or progress, sex, to identify. Let's try the next one. To pretend. To say false things and pretend they are true. He made out that his father was a prince. He made out that he was a millionaire. Okay, in both of these things, he's saying he's the son of a prince. He's saying he's a millionaire, but it's not true. Yeah? He's effectively lying to you. It might be a joke, or it might be some sort of fraud or deceit. He made out that he knew nothing about the robbery. He said, I don't know anything about it. By using the word make out, I'm saying that he knew all about it, probably because he did it. Okay? So, when you are listening to a native speaker and you don't understand, don't make out that you do understand. Ask them to repeat it. Okay, so to pretend. So make out. How are you making out? How are you progressing? Did you make out with her? Sex. Can you make out what I'm saying? Discern, see, identify. To pretend, he made out that he was a prince. Okay, the next meaning is to portray, to show. So he's always making me out as an expert in this field. He's telling people that I'm an expert in this field. Yeah? To make someone out as something. To give that description of something. So the newspapers are making the Prime Minister out to be very inflexible. That's how they're showing her. They're depicting her. Many advertisements make English out to be very easy to learn. So in this case, portray, it's linked to the pretend, but it's slightly different. So, make out, progress, how are you making out? Sex, did you make out with her? To identify, I can't make out what he's saying. To pretend, he made out that he was a prince. To show, to describe, he's making me out as the best teacher in the world. Okay, one final one, which is probably a little bit obsolete today. When you write a cheque, you need to put somebody's name on the cheque. So, who do I make the cheque out to? I think you could probably use this with an internet payment as well. Who do I make the transfer out to? In whose name should it be? I think even maybe with a document. Who would you like me to make this receipt out to? Whose name do you want me to put on the top of it? Yeah? So the nominee, the person with their name on a cheque, a document, a receipt, a deed, something like that. Okay, and the final meaning of to make out. So you make X out of Y. This isn't a phrasal verb, it's just the normal verb. So, bread, you make bread out of flour. Yeah? You make bricks out of clay. So, made from, constituted from. So, let's just go through the meanings again. We still need to look at whether it's separable and inseparable, and maybe a little bit at the formality and a couple of other things. So, make out, to fare. How are you making out in your new job? How did your team make out? How did they progress? Sex. Did you make out with her? They were making out in the back of the car. To identify, to comprehend, to understand. I can't make out the words written here. They're too small. To pretend. He made out that he was very rich, but in fact he wasn't. To make out, to portray or describe. So the newspapers are making this out to be the best invention ever. They're describing it as. Then you make a cheque out to someone. You make a receipt out to someone. Okay? You put their name on it. And then finally, one thing is made of another, the contents. Bread is made out of flour. Okay. So, how are you making out with your new job? Intransitive. Did you make out with her? Did you make out? Intransitive. I can't identify this. I can't make it out. Separable. Make it out. The it needs to go between the make and the out in this usage. He is making himself out to be the son of a prince. Separable. He's making out that he is a prince. Okay, intransitive. The newspapers are making the police out to be incompetent. The newspapers are making them out. Separable. Who do I make this check out to? Who do I make it out to? Separable again. Okay, and X is made out of Y. This is completely inseparable, but made out of. Okay, also you should remember, make is an irregular verb. Make, made, made. What about formality? Let's see. I think these are all pretty informal uses. Let's see. How are you making out? Very informal, maybe for informality. Sex. Did you make out with her? Really, really informal. To informality. Pure slang. I can't make out what is written here. I can't discern. That's maybe 4 or even 5 informality. So this one a little bit less informal. He's making out that he's a prince. He's pretending. Probably 4 or 5 informality. The newspapers are making the product out to be dangerous. Probably 5 informality. And then who should I make out to? Maybe this is definitely a 5, maybe even a little bit more than 5. This is the right phrase to use when talking about whose name do you want on the document. Okay, so there you go. To make out: progress, sex, identify, pretend, portray, the name on the check, and the contents of something. Anyway, enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. To make out.